All right, everybody. This is In Liberty and Health, episode number 216. And today I'm really looking forward to this conversation. We're going to talk all about getting jacked, staying jacked, and all that good stuff. So make sure you like, subscribe, share the video, do whatever you're going to do. I'm on all major streaming platforms, all that good stuff. Check out the links below for all your favorite supplements from Tiger Fitness, LMNT, and also go to foxandsonscoffee.com and use code Kyle at checkout. And without further ado, let's go. What is up, everybody? My name is Kyle Matovcik. I am the host of the In Liberty and Health podcast, where we talk all things liberty, health, and wellness, and beyond. My hope is to encourage and spread the message of liberty and physical and mental well-being. I hope you enjoy all the topics we talk about with our guests. We're on all major streaming platforms, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Man, I'm doing as good as anyone can do getting buried by his 13-year-old son on leg day.
I'm not going to apologize for not being on this podcast because I got to go see Metallica. So if that's a problem, kiss my ass. Okay? All right.
What's up, Jeff? How you doing, dude?
Doing great, man. How about yourself?
Excellent. Got a good deload leg day workout in, and feeling pretty good. I announced on Twitter I'm going into a little bit of a bulk, but we can talk about that a little bit later. So I guess for the audience, go ahead, give a introduction to yourself, what you do, and who you are, and all that good stuff.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm Jeff Lee. I'm the owner of Monstrousitous Strength and Perfomance. It's an online training program platform. I've got a couple different things that I do on there, but one-on-one training. I do a little bit of group training, and also do some ebooks. But also a high school teacher. I'm a special ed teacher. I'm a strength coach at the high school. I've been in the strength conditioning field for 20 years. Started at the Olympics Center in Marquette, Michigan. I was the head for boxing. Helped out with Greco wrestling. Then I went down to the Citadel. I was the basketball guy down there for a year. And then went to Yale for a couple. Worked with like 12 different teams up there. It was an awesome experience. And I was a director at two other schools, Canisius College and Southeast Missouri State. And then I ended my college stint in 2011. Just to kind of tell what that was like, I went into my boss's office and I said, well, my son's going to be born in 10 days. So he's in Louisville. I'm in Missouri. So here's my resignation. Didn't have any kind of job prospects or whatnot. And just upped and moved and, got into online training shortly after that, because I had some of my guys that were baseball and football kind of reached out to me. They wanted, they just wanted something else because they liked how I did things. So I trained a few of those guys. And then about 2016 and 17, got into like the jiu-jitsu Muay Thai space. Trained a guy who's a multiple-time world champion. His name's Johnny Buck, Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. Matt Scaff, who's a 10th Planet guy out of Alabama. And kind of just from there, things kind of spiraled up and had a bunch of guys I was helping for free. And I finally was like, guys, I got too many of you. Just need to charge you a little bit. So that's kind of where I'm at, and that's why Monstrousitous Strength and Perfomance exists right now.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Well, that's awesome stuff. It sounds like you really got a diverse background, not just like powerlifting, bodybuilding, or anything like that. It sounds like you've really been all over the place. Was there kind of one that brought you into the fitness field? Because I'm sure you, much like everybody else, you kind of like know you should do it, and then one day it just finally clicks and you get the bug, and then you just can't stop. So what was that moment for you?
First of all, I think I was in 8th grade. I went to this basketball camp at the University of Northern Iowa. It's, fat kid from Illinois that's short, wasn't gifted at basketball whatsoever. But the guys there were kind enough to tell me, you know what, you should probably lift weights. It'll probably help you out. So it started with that. And my dad owned a stereo business when I was a kid. He owned stereo. He owned his own business. It was a stereo business actually under my bedroom when we started off. But he moved across the road, and he picked up cell phones. He was like, you know what, you need something to make some money. So I was like, okay, well, how about you have like your own soda machine, and you pay for it and you do all that. So I bought my first Weider weightlifting set. It was a Weider double stack weightlifting machine. It's stuck in my basement. I wore the thing out in 2 months, and they ended up replacing the thing entirely. So like they couldn't believe that it was actually worn out, but I wore the thing out, sent them pictures. So they sent me a brand new one. So that was like the real thing that got me the bug. And then, in high school, I had a basketball coach who cared enough about me that just saw I loved lifting weights. It's like, why don't you go be a strength coach? So I picked it up in college and studied exercise science at Western Illinois University. and then got my master's at the Citadel as well. So really a couple of things that got that bug was, I think when you feel success and you feel like this is something that's moving me forward, it's an easy one. You just fall right in.
Yeah. Well, that's really, really awesome. It seems like a lot of the guys who kind of go and get their masters in some kind of fitness field, it's impressive the knowledge they have, but it's also kind of interesting now because it seems like the whole internet has become so decentralized, and like this is for better and for worse. You have such easy access to good information, but with that good information, you also have readily more available access to bad information where
Absolutely.
now, everything is a fad now. You have every single fad diet out there, and for some reason, whatever you're going to eat, whatever you put in your face is going to kill you no matter what. When you start taking on clients, do you ever find yourself trying to have to like unscrew their brains and say like, hey, you got to like get out of this mindset of like diet dogma? Because I see that with a lot of people, and I think kind of this short form entertainment that we have in front of our faces all the time really doesn't help.
Yeah, I think it's initially getting them just to move to Whole Foods and to get rid of like the convenience foods. Even like a protein powder, it's not optimal. It fits into your diet wherever you need it, but is it absolutely optimal? Absolutely not. So getting people to actually want to cook, the cooking aspect, I think, is the biggest thing. You start to take ownership over your food, then that starts to give a little bit more buy-in on your own, because now I'm starting to make things taste a little bit better. So there's always ways to make diet food taste better, and once you kind of figure that out, everything's just kind of this downhill roll, and you can kind of get into kind of a into a rhythm. But I think initially you gotta start up with one meal and master one meal, and then move forward, because it's for someone that's just off the street and you're like, hey, 5 meals a day, do X, Y, and Z. That's a tough one.
Right.
So start with one meal a day, master one meal a day, like I'd like you to do it. Do that for 2 weeks, and then you start to build on that. But you got to build habits, and you got to build success. Success breeds success.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that I've always found interesting is that our society doesn't have like a losing weight problem. We have a maintaining weight loss problem, where because it's not necessarily like a calories in or research problem. We have all the research. We've done the studies over and over again, seeing that, okay, well, if you're in an energy deficit for an extended period of time, you're going to lose weight. But the problem is, what are those behaviors that keep you doing that till you get to that sustainable point where you're healthy and you're in better shape? That's the trick. I'm guessing you probably deal with a lot of that in your business.
Yeah, for sure. I've got one guy that's been with me. He's about 2 years, and from last year, we really brought him down pretty low. He was down to 163 pounds, I believe. We started him at 190.
Wow.
And we built him back up again this year, but we brought him down to the same body fat level. He's 7 pounds heavier. So with him, you can really build a metabolism if you take your time and you add food in slowly and you let that body weight accumulate and kind of sit, and then you add more into it, and you let it sit, and you add more. It's not a 1 week process. It's a 12 month to 24 to even 36 month process to be able to do that. Like myself, I've lost 70 pounds over the last couple of years, and it's been easy for me to maintain because of that. It's just you get to where you need to be, then you start to build your metabolism, and you let it kind of take off. And then the next time you come back down, you don't have to. It's not as hard of a process to cut down. Like, you're not down to 1,200 calories and you're 2 hours of cardio. It's not like that the second time around or the third time around. So it's really you gotta slowly be able to add back in food. Like, I like the carb cycling approach. Like, for me, it gives me a day where it's 750 grams of carbs, protein's kind of minimal, but I get a meal at the end of the day that I really want and I'm craving. But then I have these medium days that build muscle, and I've got these low days that burn fat. So it's kind of you're able to build. I think you're able to build more tissue that way at a leaner rate. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that's really, really interesting. I found that a balanced diet as of late has worked for me. But, one thing I kind of had to come to the realization of is that trying to stay lean consistently, like leaner than I've been, because much like you, I lost 70 pounds over the course of the last couple of years. And like, I did the carnivore diet for a little bit, that didn't work. And now I'm more of a flexible dieting advocate. But like, trying to be in a deficit consistently over time, I started noticing that like I was picking up snacks every here and there, and I was frustrated because I wasn't losing weight like I hoped. And so it finally hit me like a ton of bricks over this last week. I'm like, you know what? I have to do some kind of bulk. I have to go on an extended period of time where I kind of not completely disregard body composition, but I need to focus on building tissue and rebuilding my metabolism rather than just trying to constantly cut weight, because your body fights back. We think that we're smarter than like the rest of the flesh that we inhibit, but we're not. It comes back to bite us a majority of the time. If you sit there and tell your body you got to be leaner, eventually it's going to say, okay, well, the next time there's a piece of cheesecake or chocolate cake in front of your face, we're diving in, whether you want to or not.
Yeah, I think with that process, it's giving yourself that one meal a week that you're really craving. Like for me, it's God. I'll go out and have a burger, a milkshake, I'll have fries, and I get home, I might have a giant cookie. And for that, I'm good for the rest of the week. But like kind of like you, I've been in this kind of deficit period for the last year and a half, to where now I'm about as lean as I want to be. I've got I've got veins popping out of my shoulders. I got veins popping out of my triceps, and I'm good for right now. So I'm gonna, next probably 6 months, I'm just gonna add back in calories, take my time on this, and do it right. So I'm excited for that part because I haven't tried to build a ton of muscle yet. Like I've always been a big guy. Like shit, I was 320 pounds, 10 years ago. So now at 220, 230, things look drastically different than what they do. So it's a very cool process to kind of see, and you kind of learn tricks along the way as well to kind of keep yourself on that track. So I think it's interesting. Like for me, I could eat a jar of dill pickles, just sit down, and it's no harm, no foul.
Yeah. So yeah, I've definitely found that the bags of pickles definitely come in handy when you're dieting. So like with some of your clients, usually people don't go to a trainer because they're like, hey, I'm too skinny, I'm lean, I cannot gain any, or I'm gaining so much muscle. Typically people go to a trainer because they're like, hey, I'm a fat POS and I'm trying to lose some weight. Where do you typically start people? So let's say we have a client that comes up to you and says, hey, I don't resistance train at all, but I want to make an improvement. What does that client, what does your recommendations to them look like?
We start off with 3 days a week of training. And it really is what equipment do you have available? I got guys that are body weight only. And you want to tell me that someone can't build muscle doing body weight only training, you're not doing it right. So it's, I was trained under a guy named Terrence Mitchell, and he passed away a couple of years ago. It was a tragic thing, but like that dude was calisthenics and kettlebells. And his first program he said to me was all calisthenics. And man, that shit works. I'm telling you right now, you do it in high enough volumes, it's not something that's going to completely bury you, but it'll build muscle. So first is we do a needs assessment. Like, what do you have available? What time are you willing to commit to this? And then what's your current diet look like? Because I'm not going to go out and drastically change your diet. Ready? Give me 1 second. Sorry, my 4-year-old just popped out.
Oh, that's okay, man.
But we take that starting point, and we gradually make changes. That's what I'm trying to get to. I've got guys that are gym owners, and they just love to train. So it's all right. Well, we're going to tweak your training a little bit, and they kind of do the diet on their own. So I really have a wide array of. I have a wide array of what I do with different guys, and it's exciting for me. Can I give you 1 second? Can you give me one break?
Yeah, man. Of course. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, brother.
Oh, you're good. So while he's taking a break real quick, I like his approach of doing 3 days a week, because I find that like 2 to 3 days a week for people who are new to training is actually a pretty good start, because like if you can stimulate your muscles twice throughout the week, then that's like, I don't want to say optimal, but it's a good starting point, because your muscles can, kind of receive the stimulus, a good stimulus, about twice a week, right? So like I train my body 4 times a week, except for I do like a full body pull and a full body push. If you want to go real crazy, you can obviously do 6 days a week. I've talked about a lot on this channel. You could do the push-pull legs. You can do like a full body split 5 days a week. I think that 3 days a week is actually really, really good, or just trying to like get people to improve their diet one step at a time. And, we have to make the barrier to greater health as low as possible, right? So if I go up to somebody and tell them they have to start eating like I eat, where, I spend an hour or two on Sundays packing all my salads, cooking meat, and all this other stuff, they're not going to be able to do that, just because that's such a big, drastic lifestyle change. if I tell them, hey, could you maybe just try to opt for some leaner meats, drink diet pop instead of regular pop, try to limit the amount of creamer that you put in your coffee, maybe you go to some artificial sweeteners or, natural calorie, non-nutritive sweeteners. That's a reasonable change. If you say, hey, just get into the gym, maybe once or twice a week, maybe do some push-ups and some body weight squats and other stuff like that. It's a great place to start, right? You don't push somebody off a cliff because they're not going to be able to stick to it. Most people can't grow wings on the way down. So I think Jeff is good here. We will bring him back in. Cool, man. You all right? Oh, you're on mute. You might want to unmute yourself there, brother.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he never stops talking from the time he wakes up to the time he goes to bed.
Mm-hmm.
I have 4 boys. And he's the only one that never, ever, ever, ever stops talking.
No, dude, that's awesome. It's good to hear that you're raising 4 guys to go out into the world and hopefully be a strong jack gentleman one day.
Absolutely. I've got my 9-year-old in the training now. Because I'm at the high school during the summer, He's like, I want to lift. It's okay. So he's like, I want a trap bar deadlift. He's watching these kids do it. He's like, I want to do that. So all right, we worked him up a little bit. He did 135 for a single. And then he benched 55 for 2. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I got high school guys that can't bench the bar, and you've done that for 2. That's pretty awesome. So now we've kind of gotten him into that now, and it's a really cool thing because he's like me. He's just a bigger kid, being younger, and he just eats it up. He's gonna be a monster when he's done.
Yeah, 135 at 9 years old. Jesus Christ, is probably more than him. And then obviously as you get older, you can probably deal with more training volume, but obviously to a point, but right now I'm 28 and, yep. I'm doing 500 pounds on the trap bar deadlift for 3 reps. Awesome. My goal now with this bulk is to work my way up to 580 pounds, on the trap bar deadlift, 400 pound squat and a 280 pound bench press. Those are kind of like my metrics, and I'll probably end the bulk around 210 pounds. Right now I'm probably in the range of 190s. So that's kind of the goal. Do you have any younger clients? Because it's interesting that you said you got your son kind of into training. Because I think some people, the conventional knowledge is, oh my God, you can't train kids. You're going to stunt their growth. What's your thoughts around that?
You should start as young as you possibly can. My 6-year-old has trained with me off and on since he was 3. And it started off, he would just go along and he would try to do pull-ups on the side of the stairs in the house. And then I started training kettlebells in the basement, during the lockdowns of COVID. And I have an 80, and right now he'll just go down there and pick that up with one arm and just kind of rip it, and he'll deadlift it. So it's really cool to see. But I've got a high school kid that I train virtually. I train him by email, like I train the rest of my clients. But he's a sophomore in high school. He's added 5 pounds, not 5 pounds. He's added 5 mile an hour to his velocity on his fastball.
Whoa.
He fanned 12 guys at this showcase a couple weeks ago. He just loves to train. His dad reached out to me. He's like, I want to do the nutrition part. I said, well, we're going to do the whole thing. I'm not going to just do one. I want to be able to control variables. So he sends me videos. He sends all this check-in stuff. It's a really awesome process to see because he's wired different. You get these guys that are just wired that way where all they want to do is move forward. And I've got some guys that I used to work with coaching wise. I was like, he wants a throwing program. What can I give him? So they've given me some guidelines. I'm giving him to that, and he's just taking off, man. It's exciting. But I think that kids should train like gymnasts. You should do calisthenics from the time that you are coordinated enough to do a push-up. And you should start that, and you should build a base. I'm partial to gymnasts because my son's a gymnast, but that process in itself builds tremendous bodies. They're strong, they're mobile, they're flexible, and they've got some pop to them. So you should jump, you should do some calisthenics, you should sprint, you should play. These are all things that you should do. There's a book, I cannot remember the author of it, but it's a Soviet era book called Children in Sports, and it outlines how they trained young people. And that's once I read that, that's what I wanted to do.
Okay. Yeah, I've actually never even heard of that book. I think that's probably really, really important because I'm sure, as you get older, you do tend to get a little bit more tight. You lose flexibility, especially because you just develop these habits. Like right now, I'm sitting at a desk, you're sitting in a car, and, we develop kyphosis, the rounding, of the upper back, and kind of your head goes down. We're always looking at our phones and stuff like that. So I feel like probably the earlier that you can get somebody to kind of get a little bit more flexible, develop their core muscles, you're going to save them probably a lifetime of back pain, and then also kind of set them off already like with good behaviors to keep them on a good path, so that way they stay strong, resilient, and healthy for the rest of their lives.
100%, man. You asked me a question earlier about where I kind of set people off on.
Yeah.
I went on a tangent talking about calisthenics for people that don't have any equipment, but like for most people, I train them on a full body type of training system. Like there's a system called the tier system, and you can Google it. There's a book for it. But the tier system is what I used when I was in the college setting. It's total body every day, but you have a different emphasis on each day. So one day is going to be your total body day, which you start off with that's your deadlift, that's your clean. So you're going to start off with that day. Then your next day it's going to be your upper body day. So that's going to be your bench or your bench derivative. And then your last day is your lower body day. I always call it Big Squat Friday, and that's your basis for that day, and everything else gets kind of layered on top of that. So it kind of goes like this: it's a total body, upper body, lower body rotation. And as you move through that rotation, you get into more isolation work.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that almost kind of sounds like a push-pull legs routine, which you could either do that like 6 days a week.
It's total body every day, and you get away, you get into isolation work the further you get down the tiers.
Okay, so basically those 3 days of the week, you focus like one day is going to be more pull focused. Like your deadlift, and then one's going to be a little bit more push focused, and one's going to be a little bit more squat focused.
Yeah, let me kind of give you like what a total body day would look like. So you're going to deadlift. Say it's going to be up to like a heavy set of 5. Then your next movement is going to be an upper body movement. It's like for me, I like heavy tricep work for that one. So it's going to be a close grip bench, and I'll pair that up with a row, maybe a dumbbell row, and then you got your lower body movement. Like for me, I like higher rep single leg work during that tier. So it makes sense to do something like a walking lunge or a rear foot elevated split squat. It's a good one for that. And then and as you go back into the tier again, you go back to upper body. Back to a total body again. And for me, I like to jump that time. So now we're gonna do box jumps. So we've gotten strong. Now it's time to be explosive. It's time to be an athlete. We train like we're athletes. We're gonna look like athletes. And you finish up again with another upper body type of thing. Like it might be some kind of shoulder isolation. So it's total upper lower, total upper lower. It's kind of how it flows. But then as you go to like day 2, it'd be upper lower total, upper lower total. So I like how it flows, because you get a balanced approach to everything.
Yes, I think what happens with some people, and I'm kind of sometimes dealing this with my own program, because I do a full body pull and a full body push. So like all the pushing muscles one day and then all the pulling muscles another day. The only problem I really run into is that when I do heavy Romanian deadlifts is that my hamstrings will sometimes be sore for days and days and days, which surprised the hell out of me because I'm pretty strong at those and I'm pretty strong at deadlifts, but my hamstrings will be tapped for sometimes almost a week after doing like 4 sets of those with sufficient intensity.
100%. That's one of those where it's kind of like that in good mornings also kind of do the same thing,
Yeah.
Like I hate good mornings, but I love doing good mornings. Like I'm just kind of strange like that, but like an RDL fits really well on that squat day because it's kind of just it's like that. It's that kiss goodbye,
Yeah, you'll definitely be cooked after them. At least I know I am. And I don't do them with a belt either. I do my deadlifts with a belt. But when it comes to the Romanian deadlifts, because I'm not using as much weight, then I typically just, try to utilize my core a little bit more. I had a back injury a while back, so that's why I've kind of gone to mostly trap bar deadlifts. So, maybe that's a good question. What is your opinion on trap bar deadlifts? It sounds like you're partial towards them, but in my opinion, it seems like those are a lot more idiot-proof than regular deadlifts. And for most people, they're never going to compete in anything like that. So it's probably better for them just to do trap bar.
Yeah. For athletes, I like them especially because it's more squat focused.
Sure.
It's more quad focused than what you get on like a sumo. I really prefer sumo deadlifting over everything else. And people are going to say, well, that's cheating. Well, I look at a lot of people's deficiencies. Their adductors are a big deficiency in a lot of people. So if your groin's weak, the rest of you is going to be weak too. So your groins and your groin and your hamstrings are the two areas that I think should be the strongest on you. And some people might disagree with me, but I could really care less because I've got 20 years of where I've seen this and I've seen it translate into less injuries. I don't care if you're a recreational basketball player or if you're a Division I basketball player. If your adductors and your hamstrings are strong, you're staying off the injury list, But like I really prefer sumo deadlifting, and even there you can kind of mess with some things with some ISO holds. Like you could pull it to the knee, hold it for 3 seconds, and finish it. If you're really concerned about like hurting yourself, so you can make the lift more difficult to keep the load off of it, but still get the same kind of strain out of it. So, but in terms of what you asked, I think trap bar deadlifting is good. It builds the squat more than would build the deadlift. But it's a great movement though. And like you say, it's kind of idiot proof. You can step into that thing and not, throw a disc out your ass. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. So when it comes to like, when people go through your program and let's say they get to like a goal weight, do you have them consider a bulk, or do you have them maybe do like a little reverse diet, or do you say, hey, we're going to maintain here? Like, what does that look like once you kind of get somebody down to where they want to be? Because I've seen you have a ton of transformation pictures and it looks like the people look absolutely fantastic, after they kind of went through working with you.
Yeah. So it's case dependent. Many of my guys are weight class dependent. So they're Muay Thai, they're jiu-jitsu, and they got to stay where they're at. But that saying, it depends on how lean you really are. So it's
breaking up a little bit there.
I'm sorry, man. My back?
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
But like I said, we can do a couple of high carb days and bring that weight back to where we need to be. I'm more concerned about body composition than what I am body weight, unless you're body weight dependent.
Sure.
But we can do a couple of high days a week. Like my client Nathan, like we just got out of that. It's a pretty damn hard diet. Like he was down to 50 grams of carbs a day, and it was all off vegetables at the very end. And man, he was hurting. But it's like that's the level of leanness he wanted to get to. So we had to do what we had to do. For him, we're doing two to high days a week, and then the rest of his days aren't really super high in terms of carbs or calories. But we're going to start building it back up, and it'll be like you say, a reverse diet, but it'll be a little bit more aggressive than what we did the last time because I kind of understand what kind of calories he can handle. Like towards the end of his, you could call it a bulk towards the end of it because he wanted to push to 190 again, which was where he started the first time around. He was up to 700 grams of carbs a day, and that was 500 on his low day. So I mean, he didn't get sloppy, and that was the cool thing about it. So I know what kind of calories he can handle. But now I'm taking a little bit different approach to it, and we're going to take more high days than what we do medium or low. But this is week 1 back in after his vacation. So didn't really answer your question. I think it's case dependent.
Sure.
And what do you really want to do? What do you really want to get out of it? If you want to put on 5 or 10 pounds of muscle tissue, then we can be more aggressive on it. But understand that that's also unless you're geared up, that's a process. If you get on a cycle, you could be 10 pounds heavier 12 months from now, and it's all lean tissue. But to do it as a natural guy, it's a slower process. That makes sense. I didn't really answer your question because I think my answer is always it depends.
Yeah, no. Well, that's
there's
what I've found.
There's too many variables.
Yeah, what I've found with people who know more in the nutrition field, they'll be the first ones to say it depends. And this kind of goes back to a conversation that we were having a little bit earlier where, this TikTok generation and just sound bites that, just drive through information, throw me the food so I can eat it and kind of move on. I think people kind of set themselves up for bad expectations where they really think that, hey, I could put on all this lean mass, or, they're just telling me, oh, if I just cut carbs, then I'll be fine. If I just cut fats, if I just do this, if I just do that, when usually it's like, no, there's many, many different behaviors and situations that you're going to have to put yourself into in order to optimize, one specific thing. Because if you try to chase 2 different rabbits at once, you'll catch neither. But, hey, maybe we could get you leaner and do a better body composition competition, or maybe we could put on a couple pounds on your deadlift and bench or stuff like that. But you're going to kind of have to choose your goals. But, when you have just TikTok telling you that, if you just cut carbs or, take dry scoop your pre-workout, then you'll be good to go for anything. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like cutting fats is the last step for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's one of those things that boggles the mind, because you're like, oh, well, it's only, 100 calories, but you cut fats out. And I'm telling you right now, things change like that. It's unreal. So that for me is the icing on the cake. It's the last part of that process. We've done everything else. We've thrown every lever that we could throw. We're doing step counts now. Our HIIT cardio is probably 30 minutes a day, most days of the week. We're lifting 5 or 6 days a week. Like, that's the last lever to throw, and that's only for like a 3 or 4 week period. It's not something that we do for an extended period, unless you actually have to get on contest stage. And I don't have any of those guys that need to do that. Most of my guys, like I said, try to break arms and get punched in the face. But but if you want to look good, that's the last lever you want to throw, is to pull those fats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you have a problem with clients seeking an unrealistic body standard? Because I know, like, we as guys typically don't talk about this kind of shit, but I do think a lot of guys have an unreasonable expectation for what they're going to look like when they get to a specific weight. And typically it seems like whenever they get down to a given weight where they think they're going to be shredded, they're very, very disappointed because they realize they don't have as much muscle as they thought.
Yeah, that's the kind of mind trick as you play on yourself. It's like you think you're a lot leaner than what you really are, and then when you get down to that weight, it's like, oh, I've got about 10 more pounds to go. so it's like that. This is gonna suck a lot worse than what I thought it did. Mm-hmm. I've got some guys. It's just like one day they're gung ho, and the next day it's like, I'm done. We just got going, buddy. Mm-hmm. Like, it's. You asked me, you came to me specifically and asked me to get you in shape. And then you got 1 day into training and you tell me you're done. I don't think I don't. Like, you're either all in. Some people are either all in or they're all out. It's hard to get them into that median ground. That makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, no, I gotcha. What's your opinion on like the supplement industry? Because it really seems like it's blown up over the last couple years, where like, testosterone and all these companies that have pre-workouts and all this other stuff. What's your thoughts surrounding the supplement industry today? You get, I think we're having a little bit of connectivity issues. Yeah, it's really interesting that he kind of went to school for all that stuff. And I get my thoughts on the supplement industry now is that we have a lot of companies that I think overpromise and underdeliver on a lot of stuff, which ultimately is detrimental, because I think the same thing kind of happens with diet. Is where people will get prescribed a diet or hear about a cool diet on TikTok, YouTube, Joe Rogan, you name it, wherever. And they think that if they just do this diet for long enough, then, they're going to get the desired results they want. They're going to get super lean. They're going to get this, they're going to get that. But then they get to that point and they're very, very upset. And what they think is there has to be something wrong with them, not that, they were sold a bill of goods, which if I were to sit here and tell you that this machine fuel behind me, you buy all your supplements from Tiger Fitness, that it's going to give you all the results. And, if you just take their whatever stack, then you're going to look like Ronnie Coleman in 3 weeks. Well, more likely that's not going to happen. And I'm setting you up for failure by doing that. It's a real issue when, we're really baking in a lot of high, unreasonable expectations into a diet plan or anything like that, because once again, we then basically tell people that there's something wrong with them if this given plan does not work. Hopefully he kind of comes back here soon. I think he was having a little bit of connectivity issues on his drive home. Yeah, so lots of cool stuff going on, though, with the podcast. We're going to have some cool guests coming on next week. And like I said, we're going to do a little bit more live streams. I think he's back in here. We'll give him a second. He's got the black screen. You had your camera there for a second. I can hear you, but I can't see you. There you go.
Hey, man, I'm so sorry. Kentucky's I got these hooks and hollers right here.
No, dude, you're good. You know what? My buddy lived in Murray, Kentucky,
Okay.
and I went down there when I was in college, and I got to say that was like absolutely beautiful area.
Yeah, Kentucky's an awesome place, man. Especially like the horse farms, and man, it's beautiful, man. I love it down here. But
So yeah, thoughts on the supplement industry?
It's hit and miss.
Mm-hmm.
You need to make sure that you are getting good product for where you're going. I see you're sponsored by Tiger Fitness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mark does a good job.
Yeah.
I'm sponsored by First Detachment. It's Justin Harris's company. You just need to be very, very careful and where you're getting your product. Honestly, I've been a guy that's been with True Nutrition for a long time, Dante Trudell's company, and I've never had a problem. But I think there's too much stuff out there, and things need to be brought way down in terms of what kind of things people take. You need vitamin D, a good multivitamin. Creatine's good. And if you need like a boost before a workout, I think nothing's better than a cup of coffee and some L-tyrosine. It really can ramp you up, and L-tyrosine is good for the brain. So it's those would be the things that I would go with. But again, you need to make sure that you're sourcing correctly.
Yeah, I think what I was saying while you were disconnected there is that like a lot of the supplement industry, I feel like a lot of people kind of market their stuff. They completely overhype it. And then the problem is that people, when they don't get like these insane results, then they think there's something wrong with them rather than they were sold a bill of goods. Oh, yeah. So typically you want to, in my mind, you want to look for something that's marketed responsibly. Like somebody that you're probably familiar with as well as Lane Norton.
Yeah.
Love Lane because he's very, very responsible in his marketing, and he's also very, very well read. And you know you're not going to get bullshit. Like same deal with Mark. Mark does the same thing. He's not telling you that you're going to look like Ronnie Coleman tomorrow if you just take this supplement. Anybody that tells you like you're just one trick away from meeting your goals, 100%. They're usually a charlatan.
Yeah, nothing fixes just being in it for longer. This one more day, one more hour, one more meal. Nothing fixes. Nothing is better than that. So people need to get out of this. Things are going to be better in 4 weeks, and think about what things are going to look like in 4 years.
Right.
Like we need to be long-sighted, not short-sighted. Think of things in an Olympic cycle. Like how much drastically different does an athlete who's pretty special at the national level than is a gold medalist 4 years later. Like think about that kind of process that they had to take, and all they had to do is show up and train a little bit harder. That's all they had to do. So we need to think in Olympic cycles and not think about 4 weeks from now. Like it's easy to do something for 4 weeks. Can you do it for 4 years?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, no, I really, really like that perspective because the one thing that I know Lane had always said was when it came to his legs in his early bodybuilding days, he said, all right, well, I'm going to give this 10 years. And if I can't build my legs, then I'll pack it up and quit and go home. I think that's the perspective that people need to have. Like if I can't get a six pack in 10 years, then I'll pack it up and call quits and go home. If I can't build bigger biceps in 5 years, then I'm done. Like you shouldn't think that, oh, I'm going to be able to do this in a year. Like when you got your newbie gains, you'll get a decent bit. You're going to get the most muscle you're ever going to get in the course of that first year. But like, that doesn't mean you're done there. You still have so much potential. It's just going to come to you a little bit slower, and you're going to have to work a little bit harder. You're going to have to turn some knobs and optimize some stuff a little bit more. And if that's not something you're willing to do, that's okay. But just accept that that may be reflected in your results.
Yeah. And it's being short-sighted. It's not giving yourself a chance. Like give yourself, like take a chance on yourself. Like there's a lot more in there. People think they train hard. Okay. Like you've got more. Like there's days where I'm like, oh, I gave it everything. No, I didn't. I had another set. I just decided not to do it. Like there are different levels to this. Like I've started my own little podcast thing. And I just interviewed Victor Black yesterday. And Victor Black is very controversial. And we talked more about the natural side of things. And like, he's like, well, when you start training, it's 10 pounds of tissue the first year. Then it's 8 pounds. Then it's probably 4 pounds. Then it's 1 pound a year. After that, can you settle with 1 pound? He did it. He's like, I did it for 20 years. Can you settle with 1 pound a year? So it's a really, I liked his perspective on things. It's like, just go in and do it. Do the thing. And just have some fun with it. And then go ahead.
Oh yeah. My perspective on this has always been like, training isn't just something I do. It's part of who I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I go to the gym because this is just something that I will always do. This is something that's made me who I am, because I would still be a 250-pound fat fuck if I didn't go to the gym consistently and I didn't know what it was to train. And then even like, I've been working out for over 10 years, but like I didn't really take it seriously until about almost 4 years ago now. And then it's really incredible to see the progress you can make when you really dial things in and you understand your programming and are actually kind of like keeping a loose track of things.
Yeah. Like for me, like I told you earlier, I started training when I was 12.
Yeah.
And I never really stopped until I started teaching in Louisville, which is, 50 minutes from my house both ways. And I stopped training those 2 years that I was there. And then the following year, we had a baby, new baby in the house, whatever, make an excuse for myself not to do it. And I tell you what, I've never been more suicidal in my life. But getting back into it was the best thing that's ever happened. Because all those demons that are inside of your head, you can just shut them up. All you got to do is work. That's the greatest mental health that you can possibly do, is to train your ass off. Yeah. And I've heard Dave Tate say this. I've heard numerous people say this. Like, it's your therapy. It's your time for your therapy. And it really is. Like for me, I am not the same person if I don't train. And it's not anyone else's fault but mine. It's just, I've got things inside me that have to come out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's my frustration.
Well, I like that perspective as well, because it's the idea of enlightened self-interest, where you understand that you cannot help other people until you've sufficiently helped yourself. Yep. Right. So like, I have to go train because it's my me time. Like, I'm not going to listen to a podcast. I'm going to turn my music and fucking blast it and get really, really into it, lay it all on the floor there, at least to the best of my ability. Because like you said, sometimes there are days where we're just like, you think you're training hard, but you got more in you. And then you go for like that last set of squats and you're able to dig deep, that kind of stuff, pull out the smelling salts, whatever you got to do.
That's the stuff right there.
Yeah. But like, that is your me time, right? Because this is the time where you focus on you, and this is you against yourself and everything that you're battling. You lay it there, and then you're able to kind of move on with your day, right? And those 4 days a week for me, where it's probably maybe 5 hours, and then plus like walking in the morning, other shit like that. That's really the time where I'm able to just kind of be with myself and my thoughts. And I'm a married man, and I work as an auto mechanic, so shit's stressful sometimes. Oh yeah. You're a father of 4, so that shit's sometimes stressful. So like, this is completely necessary for you to help the people that depend on you.
Yeah. Like for me, during the school year, I'm up at 4:07 every day. And my day doesn't end till 11 p.m. So it's, I'm sleep deprived most of the year, and I could really care less, because I do that, and I'm great. Like, it's like, even my dad was kind of joking around with me. He's like, you made a much better homemaker than I ever thought you would. I was like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? It's like, well, you get up, you take care of yourself every day, then you take care of the people you love. I think so, that's the end of it.
Well, that's what matters.
Yeah, well, it's a backhanded compliment, and I like it because I like to get backhanded compliments.
That's just kind of the way that like men communicate to each other, though, right? There's that little meme that I'm sure you've probably seen before, where like these girls are at the top, and it says that they're complimenting each other to their faces, but then the girl turns away and they're like, oh, she's such a bitch. And then guys, like, we see each other, oh, you fucking asshole, you're a jack off. And then as soon as he walks away, you're like, he's a good dude. Like, I like that guy. Yeah, that's exactly the way it is, though.
Absolutely. It's our love language. I really believe that. I really believe it. Like, I've got a guy at work, my buddy Nathan, who I train. I made up this awful story about this year about he was missing a leg, and he also missed an eye. He lost an eye in a bar fight while he was a cop. And I had every teacher in the building hooked on this. It's like, they're like looking at him. I was like, oh, I made it up. Like, I'll do anything to bust his balls.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah. Most people don't understand that. And like coming from a blue collar background, it's all about, and I think this is more than just like kind of busting balls. I really think this is part of like the way that men communicate on a more innate level. You want to see what your coworker and what the people in your direct vicinity are made of, because you want to know if you can depend on them. You want to know, like, if you throw everything you got them, if you fuck with them all day, every day, and they're good, then you're like, I can depend on this dude. Like, we're going to go out and like, if we got to go into battle or something like that, he's going to be right beside me. He's going to be fine. He's good under stress. But if you see them cracking and they're screaming and yelling, then you're like,
it's over.
Get out of here. Like, I can't
done.
Trust you.
It's over. I'm done. The fun's over. Now it's not fun. Now it's me picking on you. It's not fun. I want
to be fun for me.
No, I think it's awesome though. Like, you got to have a group of people around you that you can trust. Because you can't always go to your significant other and tell them all the stuff that's in your head. Because sometimes it's some pretty crazy shit.
Yeah, well, not only that, I have a friend that's like trying to meet women and stuff like that, and he's asking my wife for like tips on dating. I'm like, why are you asking my wife for tips on dating? Like, why don't you ask a guy about tips with women? Because, you know, guys have to go get women. Women typically don't go get women, so they're not going to tell you how to date a woman. Like, this seems pretty intuitive to me. But, you know, us stupid guys, we do shit like that every here and there, where we go up to a girl and think, okay, well, you know, reasonably, you would think that a woman would tell you exactly what a woman wants, but they don't even fucking know what they want.
Yeah. We're kind of like, I think that women just want to know that they're loved, and men want to know that they're respected. And that's really what it's come down to me. That's been my revelation the last 10 years. It's you know, love the person that you're with, genuinely love them from the bottom of your heart. But if there's not that reciprocation of respect, then that's a tough one. Yeah. It's hard to swallow that. It's hard to give on both ends. You know what I mean? So just seeing people's failures and successes. This is kind of what I've noticed. I've been married for, God, this will be 16 years this year. So that's the things I've just noticed just from being around people.
Yeah, I got you. So I guess kind of on that topic as well, when it comes to your boys, I feel like this is such a odd topic and no one really knows until they're kind of in the midst of it. But like, the world that we live in now is so like anti-masculinity, and we get a lot of platitudes about that, but like no one really gets to the point of like, we want to make men better for the sake of men being better, not just to provide women better life, but we want men to be better so that way they're better leaders overall. We don't want better men for one specific thing. We just want better guys overall. What do you kind of envision for your sons, and how do you think you can best, or what would you tell somebody in how to raise a son in a way that would best facilitate them being better leaders? That's a loaded question. Yeah.
Like, it's truth above all else. You need to find the truth in everything. And if you could do that, you're a person of high caliber as far as I'm concerned. Man, but it's just do your best every day, and don't, and be honest if you weren't your best, because if you are your best every day, and there's multiple areas of your life that you're going to be good or bad at, like your personal relationships, you know, throw training in there because that's what we're talking about. But your job performance, your school performance, all these different things. So are you able to have a conversation with somebody and reciprocate that conversation? If you're not good in all these areas, then you need to be better. You need to be 1% better. So it's truth, honesty, do your best. And if you do all those things, then I think everything shakes out. But ultimately, you can only control yourself. My boys are all wildly different from one to the other. You know, my oldest, if I yell at him, he kind of cowers. My middle two could care less. And my youngest, he's 4. We never been to that point, but he's just a nut. But it's treating them as individuals. And I heard this quote a long time ago from a radio host named John B. Wells. It's empowering the individual to be an individual. I think that's the most important thing. You can't be somebody else and be genuine. You need to be you, like I said, and be honest, do your best, and everything's going to shake out. But you got to be yourself. Like, even as a coach, I had guys underneath me that are trying to coach like me. I'm like, man, that's not you. You aren't me. They see through this. They know you're faking. So if you don't come in here and be yourself, then you'll never get over this first hurdle, which is to get the buy-in. You got to be you. So be the power of the individual to be an individual. I think that's the only thing we all need to be.
Gotcha, man. Yeah, nice. Okay.
Like it's the most important thing because society is trying to homogenize all of this into these little androids. We're all just do, and I'm gonna do what I'm told and this and that. Well, it's not. There's time for that. There's time not for it. But if you know deep in your soul that something's wrong, should you go along with it? Like that's kind of my question, and that's why you need to be an individual, and you need to seek truth everywhere. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. We're coming up on an hour here, so I'll throw you one more question. Well, a couple more questions, and we'll close her out.
Yeah,
what does health look like to you?
Whew. If you look at a bodybuilder in contest level condition, they're not healthy. There are different parts of health, though. Like the mental health part of it, there's some people where nothing will ever be good enough. So it's getting them to accept that they are good enough. And that's an individual thing as well. Health to me really is, can I run? Can I jump? Can I play? Can I not be gassed out when I'm done? And if you run, jump, and play, if you're gassed out in a time period that doesn't make sense to you. So I've been in that part, chasing around kids and like, this sucks. So that was, to me, my first cue that I wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
But also the mental health thing is the biggest one. If you're not in your headspace between the ears, then it's almost next to impossible to get your body in order. So you need, and I hate the obese person needs to love themselves. Like I don't, the 600-pound woman needs to love herself. Do you think they don't know how to love themselves? So getting them to first accept that something's wrong, and then find that way to get over that first hurdle. That's the love part. I think I'm not me. I'm something else that I'm not.
Right.
I hope that makes sense. I kind of zagged there, but there's the mental health and there's the physical health. Is you need to be able to run, jump, and play. And you don't have to be LeBron James. You just need to be able to not want to go sit in a lawn chair after 30 seconds.
Yeah, I do. I think that's totally fair. What do you got cool going on in the future? Where can everybody find you? Where can everybody support your work? And anything you want to plug?
Yeah, man. So you can find me at Monstrousitous on Instagram. I've got a Facebook page, Monstrousitous Strength and Perfomance, where I put up a little bit more information. I've started a podcast recently called the Monstrousitous Minute, which will be on YouTube and Rumble. I've got the owner of Born Primitive coming on next week, Bear Hanlon. He's coming on with a couple of my former colleagues. And I've got Justin Harris on next week as well, who's a nutritionist. So starting to do a little bit more of that. I've got some programs available. I've got a kettlebell and calisthenics program, which is an absolute bear. So if you are on minimal things, it's the one for you. It works with dumbbells too. But I'm telling you what, 45 days, it will kick your ass. You will look radically different afterward. But those are the things I'll plug. And I think a lot of this, the fitness stuff, is you got to feel it to understand what's inside someone's head and what's inside their capabilities. So that's my easiest entry point. At $9.95, it's a no-brainer. And like I said, you follow that to a T, shit will be radically different for you 45 days later.
Well, hell yeah, man. I really, really appreciate you coming on, hanging out. I definitely enjoyed the chat.
Same here. Likewise.
We'll definitely have to do it again sometime. I'll make sure I got all your links and everything in the description below. And yeah, man, if you don't have anything else, we'll close her out.
I really appreciate your time, Kyle. God bless you, brother.
Of course, you too, man.
Bye-bye.